I knew I was going to have very, very hard critics because there was a lot of people who could have told me that I got it wrong. And so it was nice to have so many people here tonight who seem to really think that I got it mostly right. I hope. So thank you so much for coming out tonight. Yeah, the special guest, I know this, I don't know if Ted knows this, but the Star News leaked the news, Ted. I'm sorry, they leaked the news and they done Wednesday. So the special guest was Ted Templeman, as you guys can see. Talk a little more about Ted in a few minutes, but it's really been an absolute honor to get to know Ted and to let him just for him to take the time to share his memories with me. It's really important. I know it's important to everyone here as well because those albums mean so much to us as fans and to me as a person. It's really special. So thank you, Ted, for coming tonight. So, I was trying to think about what I wanted to say tonight, and I really realized that I'm doing this book, and there are so many people here in this room I interviewed or have gotten to know and working on this book, that I realized that at some point, for people who grew up who are a certain age, your 50s or your 60s, and you were around for the early days of Van Halen and Mammoth and Genesis and all of those related bands, the people here, you guys were in on a secret. You knew, most of you, or if you didn't know, you quickly found out living in Pasadena that the Van Halen brothers were pretty damn amazing as musicians. They had a great bass player who played with them for a long time, Mark Stone. I don't think Eddie and Alex are going to be here tonight. They were certainly welcome to come, but I will say that anyone who's around who saw Genesis or Mammoth play know that they specialized in doing exact replications of whole sides of albums. And so I had so many people tell me how unbelievable it was to see Mark Stone, Alex Van Halen, and Edward Van Halen play the whole first side of the Live at Leeds album, note for note, in 1970. Yep. How amazing it was to hear Eddie do I'm Going Home straight from the Woodstock movie, or from the Woodstock soundtrack, note for note. Cigarette burning in the headstock of the guitar, hair hanging down, wearing the flannel shirt. And there's a guy who's not here tonight, his name is Eric Hensel, who was quoted in the Star News piece, and he pointed out that, I paid money, like good money, to go see Clapton and Hendrix and all these other people play, and this kid's is almost as good as he is, he's 15. So you folks in Pasadena who saw, again, whether you saw Red Ball Jet, anyone here see Red Ball Jet? Oh, yeah. The Red Ball Jet, the whole Van Halen Genesis, if I can use that word, you guys knew before the rest of the country. You knew. And so I was going to talk a little bit about what helped spread the word around greater Los Angeles. So again, it was sort of, when I would talk to people, they would talk about Victory Park or Hamilton Park, these places where Eddie and Alex and Mark Stone would come out and play. And would play these cover songs, and sort of the word starts getting around. You go to school and you say, oh man, I saw this band. These guys are called Genesis. And of course, the great pun of all time, or the great joke of all time, is that they didn't realize that there was another band called Genesis. And the story in the book, and Mark or Alex or Eddie could confirm that this was a quote from Eddie, that they went into the Pooh Bah or someplace around here, and then they pulled out the Genesis record just on coincidence, and Alex looked at Eddie and said, oh, I guess we have a record out now. So that was that band name. And it's just a Mammoth. But as the word started getting around, more and more people in Los Angeles start to hear about Van Halen. I got to talk to a guy named Tracy G.
Hi, Ted. Thank you, Mark Stone. Really, early on, these guys had to have a groove somewhere. Anyway, I did go down to see them. And the first night, I didn't let them know I was there. They had me on the list, and I snuck up. But same thing I thought about Dave. I thought, this is going to be tough. But he had this creative thing going on, but Ed just killed me. He was doing things, tapping things that I've never seen anyone do it live. I heard it. And I just loved the energy. So the next night, my boss, Mo Austin, I decided to get him to go down. We went down the next night, and we made a deal. So we'll record a demo. And then we did some stuff. I saw them at the Civic here, and they were doing, I'll never forget it, and he talked about love, and the whole place was going, hey, before they even had a record out. These guys were so great, and it was so great in the studio. Everybody, you know, Mike playing bass was solid. I was a little shaky in the beginning, you know, first album, but Ed was amazing. And there's one thing that he asked me about was Eruption. Ed was just warming up on something one day in the studio, and I said, "What is that?" And he said, "Oh, this is nothing, it's bullshit." I said, "No, that's it. We rolled tape, we got it. This kid's a monster," and he still is. He's a sweet guy. And it's been a pleasure working with them, all of them. I mean, it's really been great. So that's it for me.
Yeah, no, I got it. So we have questions. My friend Michael Kelly, who I want to give a little bit of a shout out here to. There's a lot of people I could thank, but I wanted this particular thank Mike Kelly in part because there was a number of people here. There's Janice, and there's a number of people I could point to, but Mike was a guy who listened to my he was like my therapist about the book when I said, "This isn't going to work. This is a terrible idea," and he just kept on, sharing his stories and telling me about the time when he met Eddie backstage at the Starwood Club in May 1976, just when they had first started, and really shared a lot of his memories with me about those days. And I'm really appreciative that Mike is going to come up and serve as our moderator and walk us through the questions. All right, Mike Kelly, thank you. Good. Okay, good. Okay.
And I think Greg failed to mention this, but we do have a Van Halen member in the house tonight. Original bassist Mark Stone is here in the house. Okay, Ted, you got a question here that was sent in. Does Ted realize how Eddie's guitar tone on the first record is considered the holy grail of guitar tone by countless guitar players around the world? Having said this, how much of a hand did you and Don Landy have in sculpting Eddie's guitar tone on the first record, and specifically, what do you remember doing to the sound?
Actually, Ed's sound was pretty much there. We just pretty much had to put a mic in front of it. I think we used a Sunrise or some kind of condenser mic. And he overdrove the thing so much. I mean, and we had to ask him to rip the screen away from the amp so we could get the mic right next to the speaker. And pretty much Ed had the sound. I mean, except that we recorded it, put it on the left side, and put the echo return on the other side, because I wanted the guitar to be the record. I thought, I've never heard anybody, someone's got to hear this thing, so I kind of let that overshadow the rest of the record. So pretty much Ed had it.
Thanks, Ted. Greg, are you planning a second book on Chance on Van Halen?
Maybe. I have to tell you that it's been a real shock in some ways to hear how much enthusiasm there was for the book. I thought I had written a good book, but it's a very surreal experience as a guy who was a history professor a lot of years and wrote a book. It's a good book, by the way. Not many people bought it, but it's a very good book, I think. To have so many people actually coming up and being just so grateful. No one seemed to be very grateful about my dissertation I turned into a book. No one came up to me and was like, thank you so much for writing this book. And so, from that perspective, it's been really, really rewarding. But we'll wait and see. I really appreciate the just the support. And I want to be clear that there's no way I could have done this book without everybody in this room who helped me with the book. There's just no way. You guys have read the book, it's based upon, in no small part, the memories of people who were around in Pasadena, people like Ted, Don, Landy, who I got to talk to, which is a real treat, some of these other people, so thanks.
Thank you, Greg. Question for Ted. Ted, what did you think of the Gene Simmons demos of the songs that you wound up using on the debut album?
I like them pretty much they were what they were. So I mean, if they would have played them for me, they would have been pretty much the same, except that they just needed to mellow out a little bit. They seemed a little bit pop. I mean, as Greg mentioned, there was a slight tempo change with Running with the Devil, and he understood that. That's one of the reasons I started reading the rest of the book, because he got it. And those little things really make a difference. You're going, it's popping along, and we needed to go doom, because it was evil, you know. And anyway, it was just a pop demo, but Gene Simmons was on for it. There's no two ways about it. You know?
Thanks, Ted.
Yeah, I was going to say that Ted is so humble, and he points out to he's talking about all this stuff about the first record of the demo. He's like, yeah, we did borrow the car horn thing from Gene. Like he's even giving the credit to Gene, so that was really nice. Yeah.
Okay, Greg, what was the most surprising and or interesting thing you learned about Van Halen while doing research for the book?
Well, the most surprising or interesting thing I learned about Van Halen, that's a hard question. I think, in some ways, I think the thing that really surprised me was I always knew clearly that David Lee Roth was, obviously, I mean everyone knows, essential to the original band in a way that could never have been replicated with any singer. But to really learn and understand how driven and how determined David Lee Roth was to be successful as a singer, regardless of any obstacle in his way. Vincent Carberry's here tonight, and Vincent went to middle school with Dave, and he will tell you that in the lunchroom, in middle school, Dave was saying, oh yeah, you want to be an astronaut? Oh, I want to be a rock star. And of course, in middle school, you laugh at that. You think this person's insane. They're delusional. You're going to be a rock star like Mick Jagger? Yeah, I'm going to be a rock star like Mick Jagger. And for me, my respect and admiration for Dave grew because of that. Because I think a lot of people would just say, I'm going to quit. And people tell me I can't sing very well or whatever. I'm just not as talented as some other people, maybe naturally. And the other thing I was going to say about Dave really quickly is that Ted helped me understand this as well, that Dave was essential to making Van Halen sound the way Van Halen sounded. And that started way back even before Starwood or anything. When Dave first joins the band, as many of you know, Mark, you might want to speak to this later, that there were some crazy ideas of some songs that really probably, Cold Sweat. Let's do Cold Sweat by James Brown. I don't know what Mark thought about that, but my sense is that was not a unanimously embraced decision that we should try to do James Brown. But Dave was onto something. He understood that if you played, as you guys know, 15-minute cream jams in backyards, that might be really fun for high school and early college, but you're never going to get anywhere because you're not going to get signed. No one's going to sign you for that. And so Roth was onto that you have to craft the pop songs.
Thanks, Greg. I got a question for Ted from Nelson Blanton. Ted, what band do you wish you had produced or would still like to produce? What artist or band?
Good question.
Well, if they were still together, maybe the Eagles. I don't know why. I like tight harmonies, and I still like the Doobie Brothers. Even though I work with them occasionally. It depends. You know what I like about Van Halen? The incongruity of Dave and Ed, because Dave was like this clown in this odd way. But I thought, here's heavy metal with a sense of humor, and it never happened. So those guys were totally unique. So I guess what I would want to do would be some unique again.
Okay, thank you.
Would you ever do another Van Halen record?
Yeah.